Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am. The ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha. Conquer Outdoors.
I'm always excited to get out to new travel destinations, go places I've never been before, and ride with folks who are just as excited about ATV and side-by-side riding as I am. And this trip hit on all of those plus a whole lot more. Oh, and I got to go on a coal mine tour too. Spearhead Trails are located in Virginia and represent 5 unique trail systems. The folks from Spearhead and the Associated Tourism Board put together a giveaway where you could win a 4-day getaway, all expenses paid, and as part of the giveaway you get yourself on TV with us, the Dirt Trax crew. And over the course of the 3 days we were able to meet some great folks, ride some exceptionally great trails, and do some really unique things. And when it came to hospitality, that too was second to none. Our first stop was Southern Gap Outdoor Adventure. Sitting on top of a mountain outside the town of Grundy, this ATV and side-by-side friendly accommodation is the trailhead for Coal Canyon. One unique feature about this particular area is the ability to tour out and do a guided elk viewing. Elk have recently been reintroduced to the Grundy area, and the herd numbers have grown from roughly 70 to now over 200. We got up before sunrise and headed out to the best viewing spot and waited for first light. While I've been out on many hunting adventures, this is something completely different and really immerses you. As the sun crept up, you could start to make out the shapes of the elk on the hillside, and before long we realized there was as many as 12 bull elk grazing as close as 75 yards from us. If you're staying in this area, you need to book a tour and do this. It's not penned animals, these are wild elk in their element. It's easy to forget about the nature we ride through, but when you get an opportunity like this to go out and experience something this pure, it's definitely special. As we drove back to our cabin, I no longer wondered why I was getting up so early, and I was really glad that I did. The first family that we were meeting up with were the Adkins. They had traveled roughly 5 hours to get to Spearhead Trails, and they were met with the ATV Cruisin' Fall Festival, which was a perfect event for their young family.
How are you doing? AJ. Nice to meet you. Matt. Right on. Jamie. Good to meet you. Are you okay when you go? Yeah.
Honestly, I was a little jealous that I didn't have my wife and kids along, as this family-friendly event was top-notch, bringing together events kids of all ages would appreciate. From face painting and bouncy slides to archery tag and hay rides, there was a lot to do before gearing up for a good day's ride. They even offered ATV safety training and handouts for kids. With vendors and bands, the Southern Gap campgrounds and cabin facility was busy, and it made me wonder why more destinations don't offer a family-friendly event like this. We all had a great time, but the Adkins were ready to get out the RZR XP 1000 and see what the Spearhead Coal Canyon Trail had to offer. The trails on Coal Canyon are anywhere from mild to wild, and we got to experience much of this, from the mud to the excellent vistas. The Adkins seemed to be having a great time, and their 2 shorter co-pilots in the rear, along with their dog, were having a blast. While it was pretty dusty during our visit, we did manage to find ourselves some mud, and while I had a fully enclosed cab on the Wolverines, the Adkins got to cool off in some fresh mud, not holding back for a second, and leaving big smiles on everyone's face. Except possibly the dog. The Grundy area and Coal Canyon trails have a lot to offer, from exceptional cabins and campgrounds to an ATV and side-by-side friendly town that welcomes you at the restaurants, gas stations, and even the Walmart.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
Our second stop with Spearhead Trails was at Original Pocahontas, located in Tazewell County. There are many offerings for accommodations near the OP trailhead, and that's where we met up with the Dynelskis at the Real Mccoy cabins. They'd been riding the OP trails for the previous 3 days, and you could tell right away this was a serious off-road family.
This is our second trip to the area. We came down in the summer with a group of adult friends, and to bring the kids down and do a family trip, you have the same amount of fun on the same set of trails. There's different technical levels. You know, you can take the most serious riders out and have a great time, and you can take a 9-year-old kid out on the same trails and feel comfortable.
I love it here. I love the trails. Yeah, so nice. They're like not too hard, but they're not super easy.
Our
So they're
trails are
fun.
rock here.
Yeah, we have a lot more rocks, so it's nice not having to go over rocks every 5 minutes.
And it's a different view, like it's not the
Yeah,
same.
everything
Yeah.
is so pretty here.
It's really
And it's quiet too. Like you could ride on the roads. We can't ride on the roads where we're from.
Yeah.
So it's cool having to like be able to do that.
Riding through the town was something that had everyone excited, as you can literally bring your ATV or side-by-side and leave the truck keys in the cabin all week long. You don't need them at all. The Dynelskis ride together regularly back home, and on this trip had 2 Polaris RZRs and a Suzuki Vincent. These folks get out and ride as a family regularly, but traveling like this to a destination is something they hadn't been as accustomed to.
Every chance we get, we try to take a ride, whether it be small or, a long ride. And,
Yeah.
Coming down here, that's pretty much what goes on. There's a lot of riding, and it's great.
Yeah. We have a big group of friends that ride. They all have kids. So a lot of times when we go out on our group rides, we'll stop for a little while and kids run off into the woods. It's neat to see them be able to go out and play like that. Every now and then they'll find a rattlesnake or just whatever, to watch them playing in the different creeks, throwing some mud around. They like to have good old-fashioned mud fights.
Good times.
And it's neat to see them get out into the woods, get unplugged. They still take a lot of great pictures for their Instagram posts, but we like to get out and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah.
We always like to show the extra activities that can be done when you're at a certain riding destination. And one thing that I have been wanting to do for what seems like a lifetime is go into an old-fashioned, good old coal mine. And I finally got to do it.
Just the amount of work involved in getting a piece of stone out of a mine. I mean, it's incredible.
People putting their
Literally, put your life on a line just to the way they were treated. Totally agree with, but that was their living and that's what they did.
To the company
Crazy.
when they started getting paid.
Seeing what people
So
do
they
under
were
here.
always on the hunt for coal
like
to dig up and sit down.
just
before they
wild.
start making money.
It's cool to do though.
After they
Always
made
wanted
their
to do
five,
this.
they started
That's
getting
cool.
paid.
I think that's the hard work that built
Crazy.
America, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that had to work a lot harder than we have to work. Work hard at our jobs, but you work hard for 40 hours at your job, and these people gave their lives to their jobs and their entire families. But it's
Yeah, it
neat.
was
It's
real
what built
interesting.
America, though. And you see these towns and the history in these towns.
Yeah.
You'll pass out. Well, then when you pass out, you fall into it and you breathe again. Well, that's death. That's instant death. That's why they call it Black Death, because it's evil. It's just no good for nobody.
This steel looks like your Chevy, Graham.
like mine subsidence
I don't know what kind of footprint it'd be, like a deer or a raccoon or a bear or something. And all you need is one little shard to come off there and expose something. That's what's so exciting about coming through here. You never know what you're going to see. Every day is a new exciting thing. You see the air.
I have to say that the coal mine tour was hugely informative. Being able to see this hands-on, it gave you a much better idea of what coal miners went through in the late 1800s and early 1900s in Virginia. After the mine tour, it was back on to a little bit more trail riding, where the trails got tighter and the mud got deeper. Experiencing the natural beauty in Tazewell County was fun for the whole crew. Before we closed out our day of riding, we found one last mud hole and the whole family let loose and got a little dirty. I know we all really enjoyed ourselves, and after hearing just how much fun the Dynelskis had, I can tell you they're going to be back.
We plan on coming down at least once a year.
When we get back home, probably plan another trip down here.
Yeah, we really like coming with the friends. The first time that we came down, our friends were hesitant of bringing kids. They pretty much said we're absolutely not bringing kids because you see some of the trails that you see and the videos that you see, it doesn't look like it might be a place for kids. But once you get out onto the trails and you see you can stick with green trails and blue trails, you don't have to go onto the black trails if you don't want to.
Once it's experiencing it with kids, it's an option.
And our kids like to ride, and we like to spend time with our kids. They're only young for so long. My oldest daughter will be going to college in a year and a half, and there's only a limited amount of vacations that you actually go on where they still want to come with you. So I cherish taking them with us. I enjoy taking them with us. But it's a lot of fun to get around with an adult group of friends too. 2 different vacations, 2 different trips. But the same place. You can do it all at the same place.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by MBRP Power Sports, race-inspired performance.
Storage on an ATV. There truly ain't much of it. So what do you do besides using your clamshell Polaris rack, which we've all opened and found all of our stuff soaked? I mean, you can put on some milk crates or try to build a less than attractive wooden box, but these just aren't great options. The rear cargo box has been around for a long time, but a company that won't take second place in this area is Kimpex. They continually push the bounds of what's possible with a rear cargo box and deliver a product which not only comfortably accepts a passenger, but is truly all-encompassing and answers the needs of weekend warriors, anglers and hunters, and even rec utility or worksite users. How much storage do you want, and how much storage do you actually need? Most of the old-school, bulky square boxes, well, they give you a lot of interior space, but very little when it comes to functionality and usability. The lockable Nomad box is 115 liters or 30.4 gallons. Yeah, that's a lot of storage, but more importantly, it's functional storage. The Nomad can actually hold 2 full-size MX helmets, so if you stop at an event or go wandering into the forest, your helmets are safe. Joining the 2 sides of the box is a pass-through storage area that accommodates longer items like a collapsible fishing rod and net. Dividers can also be added to compartmentalize the inside of the trunk, and with lids that not only swing up and out of the way, but are also detachable, there's literally no barriers to packing items needed for a day on the trail or your next fishing excursion. Sure, big, nicely styled storage is great, but it isn't really all that beneficial if it doesn't keep out water and dust, and I think we've probably all been there. Showing up at your lunch destination only to find you've got a handful of sand in, well, everything, or likewise, riding through a downpour and expecting a dry shirt to find that it's now a sponge, yeah, no good. That's why Kimpex intentionally designed the Nomad to integrate a gasket that's water and airtight. The locking clasps also double, not just as the gasket lock, but the lock for your box. The Nomad truly was designed to be the do-all box, and it really answers just about any question that you may ask of it. With a rear gas can holder integrated into the box and a passenger side flip-top glove box for your needful things and the option of adding heated grips, there are endless possibilities of functionality, all from one trunk. One of the most popular additions to a cargo box we see out on the trail, and likewise just all around, even if you don't have a cargo box, are fender protectors. And they really do protect your fenders from even the harshest abuse out on the trail. These Kimpex fender protectors are made for just about every popular ATV. They're designed from steel and painted in a similar way to your ATV's racks so that they match. They install easy thanks to the brand-specific design and carry a full 1-year warranty. These will also allow for the attachment of other accessories such as the aluminum flip-up foot pegs or future install of a gun scabbard or other bolt-on tube-mounted extras. There's never a time that we're not looking for more storage or more protection for our ATV. And when it comes to the Nomad trunk and the Kimpex fender protectors, it adds huge versatility and style. What more can you ask for?
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
Recently, I've been pondering the true purpose of technology in our day and age, and so far, the best answer I can come up with is this.
Whether it's smartphones and tablets helping us keep our daily lives more connected and organized, advanced sensors and processors in our cars keeping us safer, or ID verification systems keeping us more secure, the purpose of technology is simply to make living every day on planet Earth better. But we all know not all technology achieves this goal. Some of it only serves to complicate otherwise simple tasks. So the question I have for you today is this: does Polaris's new dynamic suspension system improve or simply overly complicate their already incredible RZR 4 1000 XP? Before we actually answer that question, let's answer a few others, starting with what the new 2018 RZR 4 XP Turbo DYNAMIX model actually is. And this one is simple. The base of this vehicle is obviously just a RZR 4 XP Turbo. There are no changes to the base vehicle, and this is good, because this is one stellar side-by-side. Its 168 horsepower parallel twin-cylinder engine has 3 important characteristics. First, great bottom-end torque. Second, equally as impressive mid-range pull. And third, an extremely pleasing exhaust note. The chassis is the very same proven and much revered setup as previous 4-seat XP models. And this is good, because if you're shopping for a 4-seat DYNAMIX RZR, you'll know exactly what you're getting. Double A-arms up front yield 16 inches of travel, and 3-link trailing arms out back produce 18 inches. Both ends are plush and really do feel almost bottomless on anything but the biggest, gnarliest landings. Now let's take a look at the technology that is the DYNAMIX and find out why it sets this vehicle apart from anything else on the market. DYNAMIX, for lack of a better term, is smart suspension. It was developed by Polaris in partnership with Fox, and it consists of servo-operated compression adjusters on each shock that are linked to a suspension control module, or SCM, which accepts inputs from 7 different sensors measuring everything from throttle position and speed to steering wheel position, braking force, shock position and speed, yaw, pitch, and even more. The input from all 7 sensors is compiled by the SCM, which in turn adjusts the 10 levels of compression on all 4 shocks individually to achieve a desired ride or handling characteristic. The whole system begins with 3 pre-programmed base settings: Comfort, Sport, and Firm. Comfort begins with all shocks set to level 1. Any adjustments the control unit makes begin at this base setting. Sport bumps the base settings up on each shock to number 4, and Firm bumps the base settings to level 10. Let's take a look at a few examples of how the system uses input from the sensors to adjust the suspension for optimal performance. If the throttle is stabbed wide open from a dead stop, the system recognizes this input and increases the compression settings of the rear shocks to help limit rearward weight transfer and in turn provide better acceleration. When you hit the brakes, the system stiffens the front shocks to help avoid front-end dive. If you're turning and hit the brakes at the same time, the system will stiffen the outside front shock more than the inside to help avoid dive and body roll. The coolest one, in my opinion, though, is when the vehicle becomes airborne. The system senses when the shocks are fully extended for more than a quarter second. It recognizes that you're probably catching some sweet air and stiffens up all 4 shocks to full hard to help soften your landing and avoid bottoming. So that's how it works. But as usual, the most important question in need of answering right now is, does the high-tech DYNAMIX system improve the RZR 4 XP 1000 Turbo, or does it simply make the vehicle unnecessarily complex? The answer is that it absolutely works, better than we had ever expected it could. This 4-seat RZR is not just the best riding 4-seat RZR to date, but it's also the most flexible and easily adjustable. Whether you're hitting huge jumps, railing berms, running massive whoops, or just cruising down a rough trail, a DYNAMIX-equipped RZR will provide the best ride possible, even as conditions change. When you're running down a washboard section of trail, simply flick the 3-position adjuster switch to Comfort and feel that washboard just disappear. When that washboard does evolve into larger rollers, all you gotta do is flick the switch up to Sport and the vehicle immediately becomes more composed. When it's time to rail a rhythm section with some big air, hit the Firm setting and stop worrying about bottoming on the big landings. This RZR is more stable in the corners, more composed in the rough stuff, and more resistant to hard bottoming on big landings than any RZR has ever been. DYNAMIX can adjust almost instantly. It can compensate for body roll, it can protect you from hard bottoming, and it's completely invisible. Basically, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was even happening. Technology for the sake of technology isn't better. It's wasteful and unnecessarily complex. But technology that makes things better, like a DYNAMIX-equipped RZR 4 XP Turbo, well, we think that's definitely a worthwhile step in the right direction.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation, Can-Am, the ride says it all, and by Textron Off-Road, driven by the bold.
Thanks for watching this latest segment of Dirt Trax TV. For more awesome content, feel free to click any of the links on the screen or subscribe to our YouTube page, where we update daily with great content on a weekly basis.